Suicide rates sharply increase among young girls, study finds. But what about the boys?
Men are good. Gynocentrism runs silent and it runs deep. It runs so deep that most people don't even know it's there. Maybe kind of like the racism was in the 1940s and 50s, where, we knew it was there because we can look back and see it. But at the time, there were no words for it. The words weren't there in the same way they are today. And I think that's where we're at now with gynocentrism. It's kind of, we can see it's there. We can see it's a problem, but very few people even notice it. They have no idea. And what does gynocentrism do? It pushes people to prefer to be active towards the interests and the things that women and girls might need. It pushes people in that direction. And it also pushes people to not be so concerned about the needs and interests of men and boys. Less so boys, because sometimes boys get special treatment because they're little. But that's what gynocentrism tends to do, and you see it every place you look once you realize the concept. Look at this picture here. It says, 1 in 4 of the homeless are women. Can you see the gynocentrism in that silly thing? Because what's it saying? It's saying, yes, 25% of the homeless are women, but it's also saying 75% are men. But the concern is shown about the women and about their side of things. And we see that in spades today, recently, with all of these articles about girls and suicide. Man, articles every place. I mean, if you search girls and suicide, you'll hit at least, 3, 4, 5 pages of the search engine will come up with, 40 or 50 pages of articles about girls and suicide. What's happening? What's happening is the researchers have shown that the girls' increase in suicide in the young girls has increased at a sharper rate than that of boys over the past X number of years. Okay, all of these articles are going, oh no, girls, everyone's concerned about girls. What does gynocentrism do? It pushes us to think about the pain of women and girls is a call to action. We need to do something. And the pain of men and boys is taboo. We just don't talk about that. Kind of like the homeless thing, right? Except now it's girls and suicide. So they're talking about how girls, young girls, 10 to 14, are increasingly more likely to suicide. And let me show you, first off, the chart that they're getting so upset about. So have a look at this chart here. And notice the blue line is the line for boys' rates per 100,000. And the orange line is the rates for girls per 100,000. It starts in 1975, and it goes up to about 2016. And you can see that line basically stays fairly parallel most of the time, even up until lately. But also notice there's a significant difference between those two lines. They're not getting close to each other. In fact, if you look at it now, they're saying girls increase in suicides, but guess what? Boys are 2 to 1. Even in this particular age range, 2 to 1 more likely to commit suicide. Now, why would it be that the girls would be more likely to suicide in that age range? All these articles are talking about it. It's social media. The girls are getting bullied. The girls are being cyberbullied and blah, 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 blah. I'd like to see the data for that one because, gosh, my experience is the boys take a lot more crap online than the girls do. But there's another explanation I think is worthwhile thinking about. And that is the puberty age for girls has gone down in the past 50 years. It's gone down low enough now where I think the average age of onset for puberty for girls is 9 years old. 9. It's even earlier for 8.5 for blacks, I think. But very early age girls start puberty now. And boys, their age for puberty onset has gotten longer. So the boys don't start puberty until later, much later than the girls. So what this does in my mind is that it puts girls into that hormonal mixing bag, that throws them around in circles just like it throws the boys with the testosterone. And there are more girls in that age range who are hormonally challenged, right, than the boys. The boys haven't quite hit that testosterone stage yet. So I think that may be a part of things going on, but who knows what else. But let's look real quickly at a couple of these articles. And, one of the ones that was from the, the USA Today. Look at the headline. Girls' suicides on the rise, increase, double that of males. Stunning researchers. Yeah. Look at the picture. Oh, she's got her face covered. She's upset, right? Do you ever see any articles like that for boys? Gynocentrism. And then look at this, a couple paragraphs down, the same article. Girls may need special care. Look at that. She's got a compassionate face. She's got her hand on her shoulder. Girls may need special care. What? Girls may need special care? Wait a minute. 4 to 6 times as many boys commit suicide as girls. And they're talking about how girls need special care? That's insane. But that's gynocentrism. A woman's pain, a girl's pain is a call to action. A boy's pain is taboo. You just don't look at it. Just focus on the girls. So the researcher for this study was named Donna Rooch, I think is the way you say it. Here's one quote from Donna. She says, "We can't think it's just a male problem," said study author Donna Rooch, a researcher at Nationwide Children's Center for Suicide Prevention and Research. We can't think it's just a male problem. What? Just a male problem? When has it ever been a male problem? Nobody said anything about it being a male problem. Nobody said anything about doing anything about it. Everybody's sitting on their hands, doing nothing. Let me tell you a story. Man, about, 4 or 5 years ago, I tried to get involved with the Maryland Commission for Suicide Prevention. And I did. I got involved, was going to their monthly meetings and doing this and that. And I suggested that they have their conference be dedicated to men, since 80% of suicides are men and boys. They didn't like that idea very much. But they said, well, how about if you give a workshop? I said, fine, I'll give a workshop. I said, but, it'd be important that the workshop I give is for all the participants, not just a subset. So it came time for the conference, and what do you think they did? They made me a tiny little subset. There was a choice of 6 different people you could go see. And so, we ended up with 50, 60 people. But, and that's the kind of response you get to thinking about men and boys and suicide. They were thinking about, they should, every conference they have should be 80% about boys and men. I told them that. 80%. Because that's how many victims there are. For crying out loud, it's simple. You do the math. It's not tough. What do? They just ignore the pain of boys. It's taboo. Ignore the pain of men. Let's focus on the girls. Man, it gets tiresome after a while. It's so predictable. It's so hard to believe that people are like that, but that's exactly what they do. So Ruth starts off by saying, we can't think of it as just a male problem. She's just echoing the same kinds of stuff we hear from everybody else. It's a male problem. What we're seeing is alarming, Ruth told Time magazine. On top of the fact that females are thinking about suicide more and attempting suicide more, now they're actually completing suicide. Now they're actually completing suicide. Hey, time out. Guess what? The boys have been actually completing suicide for centuries. And you've done nothing. 0. Oh, man. It's just so annoying. It's more than annoying. It's just incredible. It's hard to believe that mental health professionals know that 80% of the suicides are men and boys. And no one lifts a finger. No one writes an article. Nobody does squat. Legislators, they know men and boys are 80% of suicides. They don't do squat either. And what does the researcher says? Oh, what we're seeing is alarming. This is alarming. You know, we need to do something about this, right? Oh my goodness gracious. Crazy. The findings highlight the need for better gender-specific suicide prevention strategies, Roach says. Anytime we see shifts in trends by gender, we want to be aware because when we think about suicide prevention, we want to take into account gender differences. We want to take into account gender differences? I don't think so. Look at your average suicide prevention place. See if they talk about men and boys suicide and what to do specifically for them. No, they don't. Some of them may have a little thing on the front page that says the majority of suicides are men and boys, but that's just about it. So I was thinking, maybe I should give this researcher the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's done research before on boys and men. So I looked up her history of the research she's done. No, there's only one study she's done so far that had to do with boys, and that was boys who were sexual abusers. So, no, she's not thinking about the pain of boys. She's thinking about these bad boys and what we need to do with them. Then I thought, well, maybe this suicide prevention place she works with has done something for boys and men. So I looked at their history. No, there's nothing there. Everything they've got is about girls or about teens or about young people this and young people that. Nothing about men and boys. Weird, eh? 80% of the problem is men and boys, and they're not even talking about it. Folks, this is crazy. This is just crazy. And there's more and more. You can find article after article after article of the same kinds of thing. And what you'll notice is they talk about the pain of girls and the need to do something, the need to take action. Remember, a woman's pain is a call to action. And then they just don't say much about the boys, even though it's the boys who are the primary victims here. More boys than girls, but they don't even think about that. We live in a misandrist culture and a powerfully gynocentric culture that can't see the gynocentrism that we're swallowing every day. Crazy, crazy. So what else do we need to talk about? Oh, yeah. Girls turning to more lethal means is cause for great concern, explained the researcher. Girls turning to lethal means. It turns out these young girls are using more lethal means in committing suicide. But, again, she's worried about lethal means. We've known that boys and men use lethal means more often than girls and women. Not that much more often, but more often. And Rouge now is really worried about this lethal means because she says, what does she say? That girls continue to attempt suicide at higher rates and the shift toward more lethal means could have dire consequences for the rates of completed suicide in this group. Dire consequences. Did she say anything about dire consequences with the boys and men? She just skipped over that part. How about that? Oh, me. So maybe that's enough for today. Yeah, so that's girls and suicide, eh? So have a look at it and see what you think. Men are good, as are you. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff.